So look, as Democrats are losing their minds, we're reminded of the real dangers of their unhinged behaviour. Ryan Ruth, one of the men who tried to kill President Trump, was in court yesterday ahead of his September trial. And now the president is teasing the release of what he calls a suspicious FBI report on the 2 assassination attempts against him.
That's a lot of cell phones. And a couple of them had some strange markings on them. So, yeah, I want to find out, and I would be willing to release it. I mean, maybe there's a reason that we shouldn't, so I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis, but yeah, I would be very willing to release that.
There are piles of electronic evidence that we don't know anything about, like what was on Ruth's 18 phones or what is included among his 3,000 photos. And then there's the other would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks, who tried to kill President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania in July.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
An upcoming book might shed some light on what actually happened that day, with a preview saying, quote, "The Trump campaign and Sean Curran wanted more assets. The threat level surrounding Trump they believed was increasing, but Secret Service leadership in Washington insisted that the plan they already had was fine." Joe, seriously, the Secret Service has never really explained itself, and I know that Donald Trump has been begging for this information for weeks, and he's not getting it because the FBI apparently has been blocking it.
Miranda, we were here that night, July 13th, about to do the big weekend show, when we saw the president get shot in the ear.
I thought he was dead.
At that time, when he was down, you didn't know what was going on at that point. Iran, it's been revealed, had a plot to assassinate the president. Here you had a 20-year-old kid. He completely outflanks the Secret Service and local law enforcement, somehow gets on the one building that had line of sight to the president, 150 yards away? That's a 2-inch putt if you have a scope like he had. And Jill Biden that day, the first lady, had more assets than Donald Trump, who clearly was the bigger threat at that point. And then Ryan Ruth, by the way, and I'll leave it here. He's able to sit there for 12 hours outside of the 6th hole of where Donald Trump was playing golf in a sniper's nest, and no one checked the perimeter. There are so many questions, and our media is just as culpable in this in terms of not asking the questions like, how did you allow these 2 assassination attempts? One was nearly successful. Trump doesn't turn his head. Then he's dead. And the second one was nearly, would have been successful probably. So, yeah, that's where we are at this point.
Molly, I mean, 2 assassination attempts in 2 months. We've sort of forgotten it and put it in the rear vision mirror, but it's crucial that we get to the bottom of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Joe makes great points there. In the case of in the Butler case, absolutely, I feel like there should be more information. I don't know why we're not getting it. I think it should be released soon. I have a lot of questions that would like to be answered, and clearly the president does as well. In the case in Florida, the Ruth case, this is someone who's still alive, a suspect that's still alive, will still have a trial. I can understand how some of that information could be withheld for evidence during the course of the trial. But there's still the questions about the safety, about how the president is being protected now and then, that I think we could get some answers on that wouldn't affect that trial.
Steve, Molly makes a great point. I mean, the 20-year-old assassin at Butler, we don't know anything about him.
I know, and it's amazing, all these months, and you put it so well. Imagine if he hadn't turned his head. Imagine where we'd be. And now we're all, it's a different world, and he's the president. We've got to get these answers, and what I love about his approach to this, it's in a way the thing that a lot of people love most about President Trump, which is even as he is the president leading the government, he's still the outsider to a certain extent, pushing the bureaucracy, saying no, that they should get on with it. He's not defending the government. It reminds me very much of Margaret Thatcher when she was Prime Minister in the UK. She would constantly talk about the government as if it was separate from her, because she really represented the people and would be on the side of openness and transparency and accountability as President Trump is here. He's not just defending whatever's gone on. He wants the answers, and he's prepared to criticize his own administration if they're not getting the answers, and that's fantastic for all of us.